The moment everything shifted happened in the middle of an ordinary afternoon, when the sun was still high and the world looked normal, yet my life felt like it was quietly breaking apart from the inside. I was standing in the narrow hallway of an unfamiliar house, holding a backpack that carried everything I hadn't lost yet, when my roommate's mother looked at me with eyes that seemed to understand pain without asking for explanations. She had already offered me a room, a simple act of kindness that felt unreal, and as she turned away, she leaned closer and whispered something so gentle it nearly unraveled me, that I didn't need to carry the weight of loneliness by myself anymore. In that moment, I realized how close I had come to disappearing into silence, and how a single human gesture could pull someone back from the edge. If you believe that kindness can change lives, that second chances can arrive when we least expect them, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Touch, because stories like this exist to remind us that compassion still matters. My name is Arman Halim, and until that week, I had been surviving rather than living. The days had blurred together in pale daylight routines that felt heavy and meaningless, starting early in the morning with bus rides that smelled of dust and ending before sunset with me sitting alone, staring at walls that didn't feel like home. I'd moved to the city chasing stability after my father passed away and my mother fell ill back in our hometown, leaving me stretched thin between responsibility and exhaustion. Sharing a small apartment with my college friend Rayan was supposed to make things easier, but when he had to leave suddenly for work in another city, the rent became impossible for me to manage alone. Every morning I woke up calculating what I could skip buying that day. Every afternoon I avoided calls from landlords and creditors, and every evening I wondered how long before I would have to pack up and vanish. Rayan's mother, Safia Qureshi, lived in a modest house on the edge of the city where the streets were quieter and the daylight lingered a little longer. She was a woman shaped by years of sacrifice, the kind who moved calmly through life, her presence steady and grounding. When Rayan asked if I could stay with her for a few days while I sorted things out, I expected polite distance or awkward obligation. Instead, on the first afternoon I arrived, she welcomed me with a glass of water and a place to sit near the window where sunlight poured in generously. The house smelled of clean fabric and cooking spices, and for the first time in months, I felt my shoulders drop as if my body recognized safety before my mind could. Those first days passed quietly, wrapped in daylight routines that felt strangely healing. Safia spent her mornings tending to the small garden in the front yard, and I often watched from the porch as she moved between plants, her hands patient and deliberate. I helped with chores, fixed a loose door hinge and ran errands, all while carrying an invisible storm inside me. Despite the calm, I felt like an intruder waiting for my time to run out. Each afternoon, when the sun softened and shadows stretched across the floor, anxiety crept back in, reminding me that kindness always had an expiration date. One day, as we sat at the dining table with sunlight dancing across its surface, Safia noticed the way my hands trembled when I reached for a cup. She didn't ask questions directly, but her concern filled the room like warm air. She spoke about how life often pushes people into corners they never expected, about how strength isn't loud but quiet and persistent. Her words didn't feel rehearsed, they felt lived. That afternoon she told me that the spare room upstairs was mine for as long as I needed it, that I didn't have to rush or apologize, when she added, in a soft tone meant only for me, that no one should have to face their darkest moments alone. Something inside me cracked open. It wasn't romance or confusion that filled that space, but relief so deep it brought tears I had been holding back for months. The room she offered was simple and bright, with a window that faced the street and let in generous daylight from morning until evening. There was a neatly made bed, a small desk, and a bookshelf filled with old novels and photo albums. I stood there for a long time, absorbing the quiet dignity of the space, realizing how long it had been since anyone had made room for me without expecting something in return. That afternoon, as sunlight warmed the floorboards, I sat on the bed and felt the weight of constant fear ease, if only slightly. Days turned into a rhythm that slowly stitched me back together. I started waking up earlier, helping Sophia in the garden, listening to her stories about raising Rian alone after her husband passed away. She spoke of hardship without bitterness, of nights when she cried quietly and mornings when she forced herself to keep going. Hearing her struggles made me feel less ashamed of my own. I began applying for better jobs in the afternoons, sitting by the window where daylight kept my thoughts from spiraling. Rejection still came, but it didn't feel like the end anymore. What struck me most was how Sophia never made her kindness feel heavy. She didn't hover or demand gratitude. Instead, she treated me like a person worth investing in, trusting me with small responsibilities and encouraging me gently when doubt crept in. There were moments when I caught her watching me with a quiet pride, as if she saw potential I had forgotten existed. In those moments I realized that sometimes family is formed not by blood, but by the courage to care for someone who is hurting. One afternoon, after receiving yet another rejection email, I sat outside on the steps, sunlight washing over me while frustration tightened my chest. Sophia joined me, handing me a cup of tea, and spoke about patience and faith, about how growth often happens invisibly before it becomes visible. She reminded me that needing support didn't make me weak, and that accepting help was sometimes the bravest thing a person could do. Her words settled into me slowly, like seeds planted in fertile ground. Weeks passed, and the house that once felt temporary began to feel like a place where I belonged. I landed a stable job with regular hours, allowing me to contribute to expenses and regain my sense of independence. When I told Sophia the news in the middle of a bright afternoon, her smile was filled with quiet joy rather than surprise, as if she had believed in this outcome long before I did. That day we shared a simple meal by the window, sunlight reflecting off the table, and I felt something close to peace. As my life steadied, I understood the true meaning of what she had whispered to me that first day. It wasn't about sharing a physical space or escaping solitude in a literal sense. It was about being seen, supported, and reminded that loneliness doesn't define us when someone chooses to stand beside us. Sophia had given me more than a room. She had given me permission to heal in the open, under the light of day, without shame. Now, as I prepare to move into a place of my own, I often return to that spare room to sit quietly and remember how close I came to giving up. I think about how many people walk through their days feeling invisible, carrying burdens too heavy for one heart. This story isn't about rescue, it's about recognition, about the transformative power of simple human kindness offered at the right moment. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of a time someone showed up for you, or if you wish to be that person for someone else, please engage with this video by liking it, sharing it, and letting us know your thoughts, because your interaction helps stories of compassion reach those who need them most. Before this story ends, I have a special request for you. Please write a comment sharing one small act of kindness that changed your life or that you hope to offer someone else someday. As the afternoon light fades into a softer glow, I carry Sophia's lesson with me wherever I go, that healing doesn't always come from grand gestures, but from a quiet room, an open heart, and the gentle reminder that none of us have to face life alone when we dare to accept kindness.